welcome to the Property Wealth Podcast. We're so glad you're joining us today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to be here, Sarah.
So, we've been hearing a lot about house flipping lately, especially in this high interest environment. And it's got a lot of folks thinking, is now still the right time to dive in?
Right? High interest rates can make things a bit tricky, but there are definitely still opportunities out there if you know where to look.
Exactly. And today we're going to explore some practical strategies for flipping houses, even when the market seems a bit daunting.
We'll touch on how to find the right properties, how to budget effectively, and some tips on managing renovations. All essential stuff to keep in mind.
And we'll also share some real-life examples from our own experiences, which I think listeners will really appreciate.
Yeah, nothing beats learning from real stories, you know? It makes everything feel more relatable.
So whether you're a seasoned investor or just curious about getting started, we've got something for you today.
Let's dive right in then.
Absolutely. So first up, let's talk about finding those hidden gem properties in this market. What should we be looking for?
You know, the thing is, for folks over 40, house flipping can be a really timely strategy, especially in today's high-interest environment. I mean, with rising costs and inflation, having a solid plan for financial security is crucial, right?
Absolutely, Mike. It's almost like a wake-up call for many people. They might feel like they're running out of time to build that wealth for retirement, especially with the uncertainty in the market.
Exactly. And, you know, I've spoken to investors who started flipping houses later in life, and they often share how it not only changed their financial situation, but also gave them a sense of control. Like, one investor I know, let's call him David, started flipping when he was in his late 50s. He realized he needed a boost for his retirement fund, and flipping became a way to not just generate income, but also to protect against inflation.
Right, because the value of properties can appreciate, even when interest rates are high. And for David, it seems like it was also about more than just the money, right? It was about securing his future and that of his family.
Totally. There's this emotional side to it, too. David mentioned how he felt empowered, like he was taking charge of his destiny. It's not just about flipping houses. It's about building a legacy. You know, many people want to leave something behind for their kids, and real estate can be a solid way to do that.
It really can. And with the way the market is shifting, it makes sense to be proactive. I mean, we see so many people worried about retirement funds dwindling or not growing fast enough to keep up with inflation. Flipping houses can provide that extra cushion.
Right, and let's not forget the current economic trends. A lot of people over 40 might feel hesitant to dive into this because of the high interest rates. But, interestingly, that can also create opportunities. Many traditional buyers might be sidelined, which means less competition for those willing to take the plunge.
That's a great point. So, while it might seem daunting, it could actually be a perfect time for those who are strategic about it. I mean, if you can find the right property, even in a high-interest climate, the potential for profit is still there.
Exactly. Like, I've seen investors score great deals on properties that others overlooked because they were too focused on the interest rates. There's a story of a couple, let's call them Lisa and Tom. They found a fixer-upper in a decent neighborhood, and despite the high-interest environment, they secured financing with a bit of creativity, using a combination of a hard money loan and their own savings.
And they flipped it successfully?
Yes! They renovated it, added value, and then sold it for a significant profit. And the best part? They reinvested those profits into another property, setting themselves up for future gains. It's all about mindset and being willing to adapt to the circumstances.
That's so inspiring. It's like flipping isn't just a financial decision, it's a lifestyle change. And for those over 40, it can really shift how they view their financial future.
Definitely. Plus, it's about diversifying income streams. With traditional retirement accounts, there's always that worry about market volatility. Real estate can serve as a hedge against that. And let's face it, many people over 40 are looking for ways to create multiple streams of income.
Right. I mean, you could flip houses, hold on to rental properties, and even look into other opportunities like short-term rentals. It's all about creating a portfolio that suits your goals and timeline.
Exactly. And with the transfer of wealth happening, many are realizing that they can use their properties not just for themselves, but as a means to support their children or grandchildren. It's about building that financial foundation for the next generation.
That's such a powerful motivation. And I think a lot of listeners might resonate with that. They want to ensure their family's taken care of, especially as they approach retirement.
For sure. And one thing to keep in mind is the emotional aspect of financial security. When you see your investments growing, it gives you peace of mind, which is invaluable as you head into retirement.
Absolutely. It's that feeling of stability, knowing you have something tangible that can provide for you and your family. That peace of mind is worth its weight in gold.
And it's not just about the numbers, right? It's about the life you want to lead, the experiences you want to have. Investing in real estate, especially through flipping, can open up those opportunities.
Yeah, and it's all about being proactive. The market is constantly changing, and those who adapt can really capitalize on these shifts. So for our listeners, it's crucial to stay informed and be ready to act.
Exactly. And that brings us to the strategies that can help anyone looking to flip houses, especially in today's economic climate. It's about having a plan, knowing your numbers, and being willing to pivot when needed. So, Sarah, when it comes to house flipping, especially in high-interest environments, there are some core strategies we need to think about.
Right. I mean, it's like navigating a tricky maze sometimes. What's one of the first things you recommend?
Well, one of the most important rules of thumb is the asterisk 1% rule 20 times. It's pretty straightforward. You want to make sure that the monthly rent you can charge is at least 1% of the purchase price.
Ah, that makes sense. So, if you buy a house for, say, $300,000, you'd want to rent it for at least $3,000 a month?
Exactly! And it's a quick way to gauge if the investment is worth it. But remember, in a high-interest environment, those expected returns can shift, so you need to be cautious.
What about the asterisk 50% rule, Thomas? I've heard that mentioned a lot, too.
The 50% rule is another solid guideline. Basically, when you're calculating your potential profits, assume that 50% of your rental income will go toward operating expenses. So if you're expecting to bring in $3,000 a month, you'd budget $1,500 for expenses.
Got it. So that gives you a clearer picture of your net income.
Right, and then you can start evaluating if the investment is truly profitable. You'll want to subtract that expense estimate from your rental income to see what you're really looking at for cash flow.
And speaking of cash flow, how do you factor in financing costs, especially with interest rates being what they are right now?
That's key. You've got to factor in your mortgage payment when you're looking at cash flow. A good rule of thumb is to make sure your rental income can cover your mortgage payment plus those operating expenses.
So, for example, if your mortgage is $2,000 a month and you're expecting $3,000 from rent, and then you account for $1,500 in expenses, you'd still come out ahead?
Exactly. You'd have a positive cash flow of $500 a month, which is a good spot to be in.
And what about the asterisk, tougher cap rate? I know it's a term that gets thrown around a lot.
The cap rate, or capitalization rate, helps you evaluate the profitability of a property. It's calculated by taking the net operating income and dividing it by the property's purchase price.
So if you bought that property for $300,000 and had a net operating income of $36,000 a year, what would the cap rate be?
You take $36,000 and divide it by $300,000, which gives you a cap rate of 0.12 or 12%.
That sounds pretty good. So higher cap rates generally mean better returns?
Correct. But, cap rates can vary widely by market, so you want to compare them to others in the area.
Definitely. I guess it's all about doing your homework.
Absolutely. Now, when evaluating deals, having a checklist can really help streamline the process. You want to consider factors like location, property condition, and market trends.
What's usually on your checklist?
Well, I'd start with location first. Is it in a desirable neighborhood? Are schools and amenities nearby? Then, I'd look at the property's condition. What kind of repairs are needed?
And then there's market trends too, right?
Yes. You want to know if property values are rising or falling in that area? It's also good to check how long homes are staying on the market.
That all makes sense. What about property types? Are there certain types that do better in a high interest rate market?
Generally, single-family homes tend to be more resilient. They attract a broad range of buyers and renters. But multifamily units can also be great if you're looking for steady cash flow.
And I imagine you also consider the exit strategy, right?
Exactly. You want to know how you plan to sell or refinance the property down the line? If you're flipping, quick sales are crucial, while buy and hold strategies might focus more on long-term appreciation.
That's such a good point. It's like having a game plan before you even start the game.
Yes! And let's not forget about financing options. In a high-interest environment, you might want to explore alternative financing, like hard money loans, but those can come with higher costs.
What about FHA loans or other government-backed options?
Those can be great, especially for first-time investors. They often have lower down payment requirements, but it's still essential to crunch the numbers, since the interest rates can be higher than conventional loans.
Yeah, it's all about balancing the cost of borrowing versus the potential return on investment.
Exactly. And having a solid financial cushion can help you navigate those higher rates too.
So let's shift gears a bit. What are some common pitfalls people should be aware of in this environment?
Oh, there are a few major ones. First, underestimating renovation costs can be a big one. It's easy to think a quick paint job will suffice, but unexpected repairs can eat into your profits.
Right, then you're left scrambling for cash when things don't go as planned.
Exactly. You also want to avoid over-leveraging yourself. If you stretch too thin on financing, it can put you in a tough spot, especially if market conditions shift.
That's a good reminder. Keeping a reserve fund is essential, isn't it?
Absolutely. And lastly, don't get too attached to a property. Emotions can cloud judgment, and it's vital to stick to your investment criteria.
Great advice, Mike. It sounds like having a clear strategy and being disciplined will help navigate this high-interest landscape.
That's the key. Being informed and prepared can really set you up for success. So, one of the biggest pitfalls I see with house flipping, especially in a high-interest environment, is over-leveraging.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like people think they can just borrow as much as they can and everything will work out fine, right?
Exactly. They get excited about a property and they stretch their budgets thinking, oh, the market will keep going up. But then, when the interest rates rise, their monthly payments skyrocket. And suddenly, they're in a tight spot.
I can imagine that's stressful. Do you have an example of someone who faced that?
Sure. There was this investor I worked with. Let's call him Tom. He found a fixer-upper that looked promising and decided to finance it with a high loan-to-value ratio. He thought he'd flip it quickly and make a tidy profit. But when the renovations took longer than expected and the market started to cool, he was stuck with high monthly payments and no buyers.
Ouch! That sounds rough. So what happened next?
Well, Tom ended up having to sell the property at a loss. He hadn't accounted for the carrying costs, utilities, and property taxes while he was waiting for the sale. It was a real wake-up call for him.
That's such a valuable lesson about cash flow. It's not just about what you buy, but also what it costs to hold on to it.
Exactly. And that's another common mistake. Ignoring cash flow. Some investors focus so much on the potential profit that they overlook the day-to-day costs. You really need to keep the cash flow in check, especially when interest rates are volatile.
Right. So what should people look for to avoid that pitfall?
Well, first off, always calculate your cash flow before making a purchase. Make sure you have a detailed budget that includes all possible expenses, and consider having a buffer for unexpected costs too.
Like hidden repair costs?
Yes, and those can really add up. For instance, I had another client, let's call her Lisa. She bought a property thinking it needed just cosmetic work. But once she started, she discovered major plumbing issues and mold.
Oh no!
Yeah, it ended up costing her thousands more than she had planned. So getting a thorough inspection before buying is crucial. And even then, always budget for the unexpected.
That's such a good point. It's like you need to prepare for the worst while hoping for the best, right?
Absolutely. And while we're on the topic of pitfalls, bad tenants can be a real headache too, especially when flipping houses.
Oh, definitely. I can imagine that can complicate things, especially if you need to sell quickly.
Exactly. I had a client, let's say his name is Mark, who flipped a house but didn't screen his tenants properly. He got some folks in there who ended up not paying rent on time, or at all, actually.
Yikes! That's a nightmare.
It was. He ended up in a long eviction process, which delayed his timeline and, guess what? Increased his holding costs. So it's crucial to vet tenants carefully and maybe even consider using a property management service if you're not experienced in that area.
That's a smart move. Better to invest a little up front than deal with the fallout later.
Exactly. And speaking of timing, that's another common mistake, trying to time the market. Some investors think they can predict when to buy or sell based on market trends.
I've heard that can be really tricky. It's almost like gambling, isn't it?
It really is. One of my clients, let's call her Jane, thought she'd wait for the market to peak before selling her flip. But instead, the market started to decline, and she ended up missing out on a good offer she had months earlier.
That's tough. So what's the solution there?
The best approach is to focus on long-term trends rather than short-term fluctuations. If the numbers work for you now, go for it. Don't wait for the perfect moment.
That's solid advice. And what about hidden costs? I've heard those can really catch people off guard.
Oh, for sure. It's not just the renovation costs. You have to think about things like closing costs, agent commissions, and even staging costs if you're flipping to sell. I knew an investor who didn't factor in staging and ended up with a property that sat on the market longer than expected because it didn't show well.
Wow, that's a big oversight. So how can someone spot those red flags early on?
A thorough due diligence process is key. Look at comparable sales in the area, factor in all potential costs, and don't skip on inspections. And if something seems off, like a property that's priced significantly lower than others in the area, dig deeper. There's usually a reason.
That's a great reminder. So it sounds like being prepared and having a plan can really help mitigate these risks.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask for help. Whether it's a real estate agent, a mentor, or even a contractor, getting advice from experienced folks can save you a lot of headaches.
That's so true. So for anyone looking to get into house flipping in this environment, it sounds like the key is to do your homework, stay disciplined with your budget, and be patient.
Absolutely. And remember, if things don't go as planned, it's not the end of the world. There are always ways to pivot and recover from mistakes.
That's a great perspective, Mike. So what's next? How can people move forward from here?
Well, I'd say start by creating a solid plan. Research the market, know your numbers, and maybe even consider starting with a smaller project if you're new to flipping. That way, you can learn the ropes without overextending yourself.
That sounds like a smart strategy. It's all about building that foundation for long-term success, right?
Exactly. And remember, every investor starts somewhere, and learning from both successes and mistakes is part of the journey.
Thanks for all these insights, Mike. It's been really helpful.
My pleasure. All right, so now that we've talked about the house flipping landscape in a high-interest environment, let's dive into some immediate steps folks can take right now to get started.
Absolutely, Mike. I think the first thing to remember is that you don't have to jump in with both feet immediately. You can start small.
Exactly. One of the best habits to cultivate is analyzing at least one deal per week. It doesn't have to be a property you're going to buy. Just pick something that's on the market. Maybe even something that you find interesting.
Yeah, and don't forget to use tools like Zillow or Redfin to check out listings. They really give a good sense of the market and the price ranges in your area.
Right. And then there's the Bigger Pockets calculator, which is fantastic for running the numbers on a potential flip. It helps you determine if a deal is worth pursuing based on your estimated costs and potential profit.
I love that tool. And for those really getting serious, DealCheck is another great app that allows you to analyze deals and compare different properties. It's super user-friendly too.
Absolutely. Another helpful tool is Rentometer. If you're considering a flip that you might want to rent out later, it gives you a good idea of rental rates in the area. You want to know what you can potentially earn, right?
For sure. And if you have access to your local MLS, that can be a goldmine for finding comps. It'll give you a better understanding of what similar properties are selling for.
And let's not forget about the importance of networking. Joining a local real estate meetup can be a game changer. You can connect with other investors, share experiences, and learn from each other's successes and mistakes.
Oh, totally. It's so inspiring to hear real stories from people who've been in the trenches. And speaking of inspiration, I'd recommend checking out some podcasts focused on real estate investing.
Yes! Bigger Pockets podcast is a classic. They cover a wide range of topics and often have guests who share their own stories and tips.
And there are some great books out there too. The book on flipping houses by Jay Scott is a fantastic read. It walks you through the entire process of flipping houses, from start to finish.
Another one I really like is Flipping Houses for Dummies. It sounds a bit cheesy, but it's quite comprehensive and breaks things down into manageable steps.
Those are great suggestions. And one habit I think is really crucial is to start developing a mindset of continuous learning.
Right. Set aside some time each week to read articles, listen to podcasts, or even watch YouTube videos about real estate investing. You can learn so much just by immersing yourself in the topic.
And you can also join online forums or communities. BiggerPockets has a great forum where you can ask questions and get advice from seasoned investors.
Exactly. And remember, it's all about starting where you are. Even if you can only put in a few hours a week, that's okay. Consistency is key.
Yeah, and celebrating those small wins is important too. Maybe it's just finding your first deal to analyze or attending a meetup. Those little steps add up.
Definitely. And, after you've analyzed a few deals, you might feel ready to take that next step, like making an offer on a property.
Ah, yes. And once you find a property you're interested in, don't hesitate to bring in an inspector. It's so crucial to know what you're getting into. Hidden issues can derail your plans.
That's a really good point. And when you're looking at renovation costs, be sure to get multiple quotes from contractors. It helps you understand the market rates and can save you a lot of money.
Exactly. And you could even consider building relationships with contractors before you start flipping. It can help you get a better sense of who you want to work with when you're ready.
That's a smart move. And remember, it's all about being proactive without feeling overwhelmed. Take those first steps, and soon enough, you'll find yourself more comfortable in the space.
With all these tools in your pocket, you're ready to move forward. So let's recap what we've covered today.
So, as we wrap up, let's recap some of the key takeaways from today's discussion on house flipping in a high-interest environment.
Absolutely. One of the big points we touched on was the importance of thorough research. Knowing your market and understanding the trends can really make a difference, right?
Right, and we also talked about budgeting wisely. It's crucial to factor in those higher interest rates when calculating your potential profit margins.
Yeah, and don't forget about the strategies we discussed, like finding motivated sellers. That can really help you negotiate better deals, even when the market feels a bit tight.
Exactly. And finally, we emphasized the need for patience and a long-term perspective. Real estate isn't a get-rich-quick scheme. It's about building wealth over time, and sometimes that takes a bit of time to see the returns.
Well said, Mike. So for everyone listening, remember that building wealth through real estate is definitely possible, even in challenging times. It's all about staying informed and being strategic with your investments.
And if you found value in today's episode, we'd love for you to like, subscribe, and comment below. Share your biggest takeaway or a question you might have. And if you know someone over 40 who's looking to invest in property, please share this podcast with them.
Yes, we want to keep this conversation going. And speaking of which, next time we'll dive into ARV calculation mistakes to avoid. That's going to be super helpful for anyone looking to flip houses successfully.
Definitely looking forward to that discussion. Thanks for tuning in today, everyone.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. Until next time, take care and happy investing.